to move us out of the norm of the usual training we used to know. But this would be, I believe, worth your time. So you're welcome to the course this afternoon. Um, One thing I'd like us to do, please, as a way of introduction, if you don't mind on the chat, if you can drop your, well, where you're joining from. Of course, we already know your name, so I'm going to start. So I am Kelechi. I'm joining from the UK. Yep. So if you can drop that, I'll be very appreciative so we kind of understand the demographics here. Thank you very much, Lisa. Wow, it's nice to have you, Lisa. It's an honor. Um, I hope we'll catch up after this session. Thank you. Thank you, Anna. You're joining from the UK. Thank you very much. It's good to have you. Finally. Thank you, Joseph. Joseph is joining from Germany. Daniel is joining from Nigeria. Um, um, Jonas is joining from the UK. Okay, okay, it's fine. Um, yes, okay, Akimbaji is joining from Nigeria. Awesome. Dipendra is joining from India. I mean, thank you very much, guys. This is quite a representative of the continent here. Shola is joining from the UK. I think Every is typing something. Let's see. Yeah, Every is joining from Evidence, I believe, is joining from Germany. And thank you very much, guys. Thank you for dropping those locations. And it's good to have you join. As much as possible, I'll be accepting invites as we move on. But let's kickstart this session really. And it's a pleasure having all of you. And today, without wasting much of your time, we are going to be looking at one topic that is very close to my heart because as you know, as a consultant, I have I've gone through a journey when it comes to implementing SAP projects, but not just a consultant. I have a very deep background in project related work and business analysis and PM because hopefully I'm a certified business analyst and a certified project manager. So I have that very good inclination when it comes to project because I mean it's one area I'm really very, very interested in. So today we are going to be looking at driving ERP transformation, your guide to successful SAP S/4HANA implementation, deployment, and project delivery. Three very powerful words you always find when you find yourself in any digital transformation, implementation, deployment, and project delivery. So let's go into it and really see how this course is going to go and what we stand to benefit. For the agenda today, thank you guys for dropping your locations and where you're joining from. The basic ground rule for me is participate. So this is going to be a very open session. Your mics are on. So as much as possible, it is going to be very interactive. And I always have this rule that in training, we get to learn from each other. I mean, I'm also limited in my knowledge because my experience is based on the projects I've done. I have people in this call who have probably done more projects than myself. In fact, I have Lisa, who is a mentor to me, who has joined this call, and of course, I have every other person here who has some level of experience. So the beauty of having a meeting like this is we all bring in our experiences and we all learn from each other. I think and as a facilitator, I also want to learn. And it's for me, that's the foundation. So there is no question, there is no response that sounds foolish or that sounds like it doesn't make sense. Because you're coming from a background, it makes sense to you and it makes sense to us. So please, as much as possible, when during the slides we'll have time to let people air their views, and sometimes you can use the chat, sometimes you can unmute your mic based on what the question is, but we want you to as much as possible be part of the session, air your views, give us your feedbacks, give us your share your thoughts. We really, really appreciate it. Then next is deep dive, and we'll have a wrap up and a QA session and basically some announcements. Yeah. Basically just introducing, there are three cardinal issues when you join my sessions. One is join, you have joined, so congratulations for joining. The second is engage. So as much as possible, feel free to call me, feel free to drop your concerns in the chat, feel free to participate when there are questions. Like I said, put yourself, make yourself visible within the meeting, share your thoughts, no matter how inexperienced it sounds, or how highly experienced it sounds. We want to hear that because we're all going to learn from that, and as much as possible participate. Yeah, and that's key for us really. But most of the time we want to call people out just in case we're a little bit shy. When you're called out, please, as much as possible, oblige me, just share your thoughts. It's nothing serious. We're not in an exam hall. This is just a very open webinar. As much as possible, turn off your mic if you're not speaking. Feel free to connect with one another. And of course, feel free to share your feedback with us. And really, thank you very much for joining once again. So to meet me, most of you already know me. As much as I'm going to keep this very brief as much as possible. My name is Kelechi Kelly Adele. I mean, if you're on LinkedIn and you're within the SAP ecosystem or within the SAP environment, maybe you might have seen me or have bump through either my YouTube channel or the stuff I share on LinkedIn. But generally and briefly, I'm an ERP finance transformation SME or expert. I have over 12 years experience implementing and deploying solutions, to meet or support organizations' goal or organizational goals. I have been involved and still very much involved in delivering IT solutions, for global organizations and for global companies really. For academic background, well, that's a lot. So the first thing is I'm an accountant, really. That's my foundation, and every other thing follows. I'm certified in a little bit in some areas of my profession, whether it's in SAP or in project management or in business analysis, or having an MBA with specialization in artificial intelligence. So for me, I'm an IT enthusiast. I love technology and I love learning new things, right? So it's part of my DNA, and it's actually good to have you join us. So I mean, as much as possible, you can connect with me through various means. Yeah, you can connect with me via YouTube. I have a YouTube channel that is dedicated to helping everybody learn. Let me see if I can share that link just at the meeting here so that those who want to connect can connect. I will also share so that's my YouTube channel. If you want to connect, it's via the chat. Then if you want to connect to me or with me via LinkedIn, most of you are already, but for those who are not, I've also dropped my LinkedIn profile. Why not? Let's connect. Send me an invite and I'll connect with you as much as possible. And you get to get, some updates, as regards some of the programs or knowledge I'm sharing as much as possible. I'm also on Udemy. A Udemy certified instructor. I have over, I believe, six courses on Udemy that is virtually doing well. So once again, if you want to also get to know me or you want to get any of my courses, you can just search by my name on Udemy and you'll get those courses as much as possible. So feel free to connect and feel free to reach out as much as possible. And also, very briefly, as we run through, we have also some courses where we do or we run most times quarterly. So we do this like 3 times in a year. We have the AI business analysis. We have an SAP internship program. We have what we call the SAP technical training for functional consultants. We have SAP business analysis, which is like the PM, which is what we're doing now. We have the core business analysis course. We have other training and other training, FICO training and all of that. So we have all these trainings, but most times we do this quarterly, depending on the demand. But one of the things we do is if we're doing an SAP training, we have this three package. It's like a three in one set. We do the project side, we do the functional side, and we do the technical side. So that makes a complete consultant, somebody who understands how to implement projects, you understand how the system works, you can do end-to-end configuration, and you understand how to communicate with the technical team, which is basically understanding your tables and your fields, how to troubleshoot, how to, you know, come up with FSDs and the rest of them. So it's really around that. That's kind of trainings we do when we have our quarterly sessions. Please do feel free to connect with me and to ask me questions much later. If you have any questions or you have any need, any training need or support needs, it will be nice to connect with you. Okay, that's just me trying to hurry up. So let's move into the course really for today. Yeah. So let's actually the essence of this course, as we're going to see, is the implementation journey. It's a long process. If you've been in an end-to-end SAP implementation project, I think that's why most of the time there's always a party when you go live. It's a combination of a lot of processes that takes you to the end. Right from when the customer decides to want to use SAP to when you take them through their discovery, through their journey, when all the stakeholders are on board, down to when you get the system, down to when you start, the change management work, down to documentations, gathering processes, mapping processes, and all that, down to when the system is designed, is tested, data migration is done, you go live and you move on. Right? So it's a whole lot. And for this journey, we're going to dive deep into what each of these journey, how can you position yourself to be part of this journey, and how can you leverage the skills you have gained from this course to actually contribute meaningfully when you join these kind of projects. And whatever you learn in SAP can be applied to any other ERP for that matter, especially on the project side. So the way you deploy, for example, SAP, is not so far from the way you deploy, let's say, Microsoft Dynamics or Oracle. Although they have different deployment approaches, but it's generally the same. So any knowledge here helps you, even if you're not in SAP or you're in other ERPs. Now, the journey begins basically. We'll hear, for those who are new to SAP, because I'm also trying to manage the expectation of this call, we have people who are totally new, we have people who are very experienced, we have people who are in the middle of it. So, but the most important thing is, if you look at implementation, you're looking at activate, you're looking at best practice, you're looking at strategy, you're looking at planning, you're looking at continuous improvement, you're looking at transitioning and all of that. Um, it's a lot of jargons that goes into that word implementation. But as we move on, we're going to take this journey is going to be this journey basically is going to last for about 2 months for those who have subscribed. For today, we're just going to go through it step by step, and so you understand really how this whole thing starts and where you are going to be part of, in that project. Now, the aim of this session really is for participants, it's really to equip participants, right, with the knowledge, with the skills, with the strategic perspective needed. So those three are core for me. One is the knowledge. Things are changing very fast, and there is no two projects that are the same. And for those who are new to SAP, or who are new to projects, some of us might be functional consultants. We have done a lot of configurations, but most of us have not sat on the project side of things. That's also very good. So this course gets you equipped with the required knowledge, the skills you need, because project work is a lot of work and needs a lot of skill. Because, for example, if you land yourself in a typical PM role or BA role or any role that has to do with delivery and engagement with stakeholders, you need skills, a lot of skills. You need to understand the dynamics of of a project and the dynamics of stakeholder management. We'll get into that as we move on. We also have the strategic perspectives. Project implementation is not just about coming up with a project plan and gathering people and you go and deploy. No, it's a little bit more strategic because you have to decide on what implementation strategy you will be adopting. There is no two project that requires the same methodology. In fact, when you do different implementation, different companies and their culture sometimes will drive the way and the methodology and the strategy we use. I've seen that over the years. I've seen some people adopt the Activate methodology. I've seen hybrid version. I've seen, some what we call minimum MPV, minimum viable product, strategy. So there are a lot of strategies companies can use to implement projects. And it's very important that you understand that strategic perspective. It's very, very important. So we're going to be looking at a very low level and we will grow and climb as we move on. And let's see again, um, for learning objective for participants, really, one of the things we're going to try to do is to make you understand the why. Because one thing I've observed in a lot of trainings is really around us, providing people with information without them knowing, understanding why do we have to do this or why do we have to do that. So it's basically around grasping business cases, the strategic benefits the implementation offers, simplified understanding processes, understanding, why we have to make certain decisions. So the why is very important, and that's what participants will get from this course. The second is comprehend the methodology, and it's very key. We don't just rush into we don't how do I put it now? Project work is very, very it's very strategic. It's very in a word, um it's very methodological. Like you have to come up with a structure and a way to drive your projects. So you have to comprehend what that methodology is and how you can apply it. So people, of course, for those who are already in SAP, we all know what we call activate. Activate methodology is a set of 6 steps or 7 steps we use to implement project. But just knowing the methodology doesn't really make you qualified to be part of a project in an ERP like SAP. You have to understand how you can apply that methodology and comprehend the extent, the length, and the breadth of that whole methodology. It's a whole lot. It's a different package on its own. But hopefully, when we go through this course, you'll get to comprehend what that methodology is. The next is to introduce you to what we call the cloud mindset. It's also very important because one of the changes or transformation that has happened over the years in ERP space is, of course, moving from the on-premise platform to cloud environments. And of course, the next phase of ERP is moving from the cloud to hopefully more advanced technologies like AI and machine learning and quantum quantum tech, and a whole lot more that is really, really coming up in the future. But for now, that cloud mindset is important, and people need to understand that people need to have a grasp of that mindset. And of course, the last is embracing change management. Yeah, and it's very, very important because like I always say, transformation, project implementation is not about the system. It's not about delivering, configuring, and going live. No, that's not the essence of. That's not really the goal of any implementation. The goal is around people, around how do people feel? I mean, people own this. People would do the work when you have gone live, and if people are not considered in that process, then unfortunately you will never have a successful project. Yeah. So and that's why the now there's a new way of thinking that digital transformation. Please, if you can mute your mic, I'd like that. I'm hearing the voice. Please mute your mic, please. So we have now that. Change, digital transformation really is about people. It's about culture. It's about the way people work and the way people should be working together. Just a minute, let me see. Yep, I think I got that person. That is Sam. Okay, thank you very much. All right, so this is what participants will hope to get. For project team members, business analysts who are here, you're going to basically understand project scope. You're going to look at executing the activate methodology, data management and integration, test and validation, and of course for participants who have indicated interest to be part of this session for the whole period we're going to be here. We're going to be looking at two business cases, and it's very important that we drive this conversation with real life scenarios. So we're going to be looking at two business cases. We're going to be having one live ERP project implementation, which I'll be championing. It's so part of my background is, because I have done this work over the years. I've been involved in a lot of implementation, so definitely is something we'll be looking at as we move on. So participants will be involved in one live ERP project. The third is learning new project tools and business processes. Those who are involved or those who have indicated interest will learn. There's a lot of learning because for you to implement projects, you need to get yourself familiar with tools like Azure DevOps, Visio, the different, whether it's ALM or Signavio or Microsoft project and all that. There's a lot of tools to learn, including AI actually, to come up with some documentations that we're going to be having for our project. So we're going to use a combination of all these tools as for those who will stay longer with us. Now, you're going to also learn two ERPs. When we get to the functional side of things, SAP and Sage. These are two popular ERPs in the market right now. We hope to that learning has started for participants actually. We're going to introduce you to some project documents. So you're going to be developing project documents yourself, stakeholder management, change management documents, project plans, um, stakeholder analysis, fit to standard documents, FSDs and all that. And of course, you're going to, because it's a team effort, we're going to be working with your colleagues to make sure that this actually works. Yeah, I'm going to take a break now and see if we have any questions. So at this point, if you have any questions, please feel free to let me know. Let me check my chat. So if you can drop them in the chat, it'll be great. Okay, awesome. So we don't have any questions, but if you have, please, you can raise your hand. And once I am good to go, I'll let you speak. But please feel free to ask questions, and hopefully very soon I'll be asking questions too. Now, for icebreakers, and for so that we so that I know that people are actually here, I have a question for us, and hopefully we're going to use 5 minutes for those who will be grateful enough to let us know. Now, the question is, have anyone, been involved in, any IT or ERP project? If you have, please share. If you've been involved in whether it's something around Excel or something around any other project, whether that ERP, whether it's Sage, whether it's QuickBooks, whether it's um, process management, anything. If you've been involved in any kind of IT project or any kind of project that involves technology in your business, at the place of your work, would you mind just giving us an idea of what it looks like and, give us a very high level, your journey, really? Okay, so I have Lisa. Thank you very much, Lisa. Please, you can unmute your mic and speak. Give us, what did it look like, and what were some of your lessons learned, really?
Yeah, so I'm an old girl. I've been
Okay.
doing SAP for about 30 years now. And
Mm,
part of my experience was I was on the very first Hewlett-Packard implementation on SAP that HP ever did way back when. And
wow.
I got trained on all the technical backend stuff. And it was back in the old days, SAP R2 to
Mm,
R3 type of
mm,
time.
mm,
And when I
hmm.
left HP, I went to SAP. And the cool thing is, I went
Wow.
to the development team of SAP in Philadelphia, and I was there
Okay.
at SAP for 15 years. So
Mm,
the cool thing is, working with all these really smart developers, I kind of have been on the whole SAP journey all these years.
wow.
And I've actually implemented and led myself over 70 implementations across many industries. And
Cool.
now at my age, 65, I'll tell you the main lesson that I've learned that's really
Mm,
critical is that no matter what anybody says, the number one success factor is to understand every work stream and what all the
okay.
deliverables are for every work stream. SAP
Okay.
Activate methodology is really the backbone. Every
Okay.
customer, we've had to meet them halfway because they have their own
Okay.
processes, but we have to insist on SAP Activate. The other one
Okay.
critical factor is hybrid approach.
Mm,
I insist on a hybrid
mm,
approach. So what I mean by
mm,
that is you have to have a waterfall wrapper around
mm,
the agile in the middle. So you can
mm,
do agile with testing, you
mm,
can do agile with development, but the problem is people don't understand. You have to bring the whole team on a journey. Everybody has to
mm,
understand step by step the whole thing. You can't just ignore the customer. You can't ignore what they understand. You can't do that. You have to bring everybody at the same pace so they understand everything. So that's the fun of it, but that's also the
okay.
important thing. I tell you honestly, every single project I've ever done, I stopped counting at 70,
Mm,
has been successful because my approach
mm,
was always hybrid and people are going on a journey. So I just want to
mm,
open up to you
mm.
guys. If anyone wants to talk to me on LinkedIn, wants any other additional feedback or mentoring, I mentor a lot of people these days.
Awesome.
One
Awesome.
more quick thing about AI. I've been avoiding AI and ignoring AI for a while because I've been really, really busy on projects.
Okay.
The thing about AI for me personally is I need to understand how they create it. Like, what's the
Mm,
development behind it? I don't want to just go in and use
mm,
it and know how to prompt and
mm,
do stuff. I want to know, how does somebody develop, Joule? How do you
mm,
develop Gemini? What's behind the coding and the technical baseline? And I'm not finding anyone that's really having courses or training on that. But
mm.
I'm just kind of person I need to understand beneath it before I can fly on the other stuff. So I'm
Awesome.
hesitant myself to try any of these tools until I understand the technology behind it. And I'm not finding
Mm,
any classes on that. So I would just offer, if you have a chance, think about us old dogs who've been doing this for a long time. We really want to
mm,
understand the foundation of it. So I'll be
mm.
quiet.
Thank you very, very much,
Thank
Lisa. And of course, I'm one of your mentees, and it's a privilege and honor
you.
having you.
Yeah, we've known each other for a
Have-
couple of years. Yeah. And I really, I
Awesome.
think you're
Yeah.
very professional. You got awesome skill sets, and I enjoy chatting with you.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that, Lisa. And of course, please, everyone, feel free to connect with Lisa. She is a veteran in the industry, and has been helpful in my journey also. So thank you very much, Lisa, for sharing. I appreciate that. And that was a very good point, which I noted down. If you have a pen and a paper, please do well to note down some of these points. And of course, one of the successes that Lisa shared is understanding other work streams. And we're going to look at that. If you want to sit on the project implementation side, you have to know, if, let's say, for example, you're a finance person or you're a PM person or you're an EA person or whatever module or structure you have built yourself or whatever experience you have, once you come into the PM space, you need to expose yourself to other work streams. You have to be like an open book and learn everything around, whether it's finance, whether it's supply chain, whether it's HRO, whatever module, you have to be open to learning those work streams. They're also very important. And of course, another point is the SAP Activate methodology, which we call Activate, is the backbone of that, which is quite very remarkable. And of course, hybrid. And I agree because even from my little experience, have rarely seen a full agile platform. Even the Activate is a mixture of it's a mixture of traditional and agile, really, if you look at the way it's structured. So hybrid approach most times would cater for, some of the, I think it has a way of accommodating your customers and also helping them through their journey. If it's strictly agile, you might have, some resistance really. And I've been in a project where, the implementation partners were looking at agile, the business was sitting on, more of the traditional approach. And it was a challenge driving because they all had different expectation from that delivery. So it's always good. There is this harmonization of approach, which is hybrid. Hybrid can cater for, it's a safer place to sit in most cases. But we'll learn about that as we move on, really. And of course, also it's a journey, right? Implementation is a journey. I don't think it actually ends because even when you go live, it opens another phase of, making sure that that the solution that has been deployed, is meeting with the goals and the vision, and you also manage the users through that journey. There's also a phase of process improvement once you have gone live, so it doesn't really end really. The digital transformation or this implementation, every phase open up a new way of working, and that's the beauty of transformation. And we're going to see how you fit into those structures. And of course, the issue of AI. Well, I mean, it's just one space that there's been some controversies over the years. The secrecy behind how it's built and the structure behind it is massive, right? It's very massive. I don't think, like Lisa rightly said, I don't think anybody has any kind of training on what the back end looks like or what the structure is like. I don't think so. Maybe because I mean, there are millions of people work, maybe thousands of people work on coming up with a structure, or maybe it's just a small team, but there's a lot of secrecy around the build of or what these models are intended to do. But one thing is sure that they are learning from whatever information you put in there. We have upgrades as we move on, but they're learning from your prompts, they're learning from the information as much as possible you provide. But we'll talk about AI much more later. So thank you very much, Lisa, for sharing. I appreciate that. And why not? I think we'll move on. But thank you for those who have indicated interest. I think I would see Kirubel talked about, yes, he or she has been involved in EAM. Folabi said he's sitting on the fence. I hope you move. Yeah, thank you, Lisa, for sharing your profile. And thank you, everyone. But that's a very good, and take it from me, that's a veteran speaking, and you can see the level of insight and details. And thank you, Lisa, for joining us. It's an honor. Okay, now let's move to
I didn't know this was training for new people.
let's move to what we call the light bulb moment. It's a moment where you see it as we move on. It's a moment where we learn something new, and we always call it the light bulb moment. Now, for this light bulb moment, we have a business case, and hopefully we'll have spent some time. Like I said, this is not your conventional SAP training. And please, as we move on, feel free to start putting your cursor on muting your mic to speak, because we're going to be going through a case study. And for the probably 5-10 minutes, I would love to hear from all as many people as possible. Now, this case study is about a company we call Widgets Inc. And the topic is applying SAP Digital Transformation Framework. And of course, now, here is a case study about digital transformation of a manufacturing company called Widgets. Yeah, so focusing on the problems they faced and how digital transformation with the SAP S/4HANA supported this transformation from stagnation to streamlined processes. So let's look at what the issues were. Now, Before digital transformation, let's look at the challenges. Widgets was a mid-sized manufacturing company with a long history of producing specialized industrial equipment. It was founded in 1970. It had a built-in reputation for quality products, but by the late 2010s, the company was showing significant sign of strain. Now, what were some of those issues? Number one, inefficient operations and manual processes. Yeah, so there was poor, management process, poor order management process for those in the for those in the either retail or manufacturing industry. Um, when you look at order management, is how you manage both orders from your customers and orders from your suppliers. Two is lack of inventory control was a serious issue. The company had grown, but because their process was still most of it was still very manual, as you can see in the picture, inventory control was an issue. Third, missed production schedules because of poor project production planning was a great issue for them. And of course, in that the next is poor compliance to quality control, which is most likely in most cases a regulatory requirement. So this was also poor, and were some of the challenges that Widgets was facing. The second challenge was lack of data and insights. No centralized information was part of what they were going through, poor decision making because of course once data is not centralized and data are sitting in siloed systems, surely you're going to have poor decision making because your decision will not be prompt. Third is limited customer understanding. That's what some of the challenges they were having. So we have lack of data and insights. The third issue they were having was customer dissatisfaction and eroding competitiveness. You can see the lady in the picture very frustrated. So there was slow response times from meeting customer issues and demands. There wasn't consistent deliveries, and of course, competitors' advantage, which is what we call disruption, was also a major issue for them. They couldn't catch up with the new ways of working. So this was the third issue they were facing. And the fourth they were facing was employee frustration and morale. Now you can see that the tax they were in a very good day they had repetitive manual tasks, because which involves using like most times Excel and some physical documents, lack of collaboration among team members, and of course within the company because they were not doing well. So growth was they had limited growth opportunities. It's also a major problem they were facing. And of course, we have the light bulb moment. And now, if you look at the problem, so we also had the issue of financial reporting, which somehow I missed out of here. But if you look at the typical scenario, you know, if you look at if you look at this challenge that this company is going through, I think most of them we might relate to it where we work or relate to it, somewhere we know or somewhere we left. Now, it's now time, how do you think widgets can come out of this quagmire? How do you what advice, do you we can spend 5 minutes here, but I really love to hear your thoughts. Seeing all these issues that they are going through, what advice do you have and how do you advise this if you're let me not say what do you advise. If you're employed by this company to come and fix their problem, how would you do that? So if you're employed by widgets, I mean, they put out an advert. They need somebody who can come and help them transform this very pathetic situation. And you have applied. I mean, your CV is great, and they have brought you in. How would you go about helping them come out of this issue? Like I said, no response is foolish. We just want to hear your thoughts. So please raise your hand if you want to help us with an idea, really. How do you think they can come out of this issue? Yeah, anybody wants to try?
Hi.
Yes, go ahead, Joseph.
Okay. Actually, I'm going to because I'm going to start. I'm actually a business user in SAP, so I'm not yet a functional
Awesome.
user, and that's my plan. That's where I want to move to, and so I'm just
Awesome.
going to bring out idea from my when I worked in the strategy departments in Deutsche Telekom in Germany. So I think first of all we need to dissect the problem by looking at all the activities along the value chain of the company. And when you take
Awesome.
its strategic business units, we'll try and see the lapses and see how we can um, recon reconfigure how to reconfigure the business model and hope it
Mhm.
gives value proposition. I think that's what I would do
Thank you.
from
Thank
my strategy point of view.
Okay. Okay. Thank you so very much, Amana. And this was a very, very important response. Dissect the problem, look for some of the lapses, reconfigure the business model. Good stuff. Good stuff. Thank you very much. I'd love to hear from, thank you very much, Joseph. Joseph is a user, right? So feel free to share your thoughts. If you're employed or, you have been asked by your manager, we're going through all this. What do you think we can do? Any other person? Okay. Okay, Avalabi says they should implement SAP S4. Very good. Very good. Linda says single source of truth using SAP S4 HANA. Awesome. Shubhab said either S4 or SAP Central SLT landscape in case non-SAP system. Thank you very much, guys, for your feedback. Um, so if we implement, I mean, very good feedbacks, but Afolabi said it provides solution to all those efficiencies. Okay, sounds interesting. Any other person wants to speak just for 2 minutes? But thank you guys for sharing your thoughts via the chat. They're very helpful. A lot of insights there. Any other person wants to speak to us? Just what do you think? Okay, Sam, Shola, where are you guys? Evidence. Let us know what do you guys think. Yes, it's a whole lot of work. Okay, well, thank you guys for sharing your thoughts. But this is okay. Shall I go ahead? You wanted to speak?
Yes, so I would say that I want to know, I want to understand the the current position of the organization, like as is. I want to understand what's from what you shared. I know that there's some information that I already shared, but I want to know if there are some policies in place, if this company has an IT strategy already on ground,
Okay,
that can cover for cost, that can cover
okay.
for so because cost will determine what we deploy. If,
Mhm.
for example, they cannot afford SAP S4 HANA, we can look at other um, solutions that are less that are less affordable, that meets the what's it called, their what's it called, strategy for finance. And also, so I'll look
Okay,
comprehensively at I'll look at, maybe I'll deploy some business management what's it called, solutions, like look
okay.
at Pestel, look at everything that has to do with the company, and then be able to provide a solution. Thank you.
Awesome, awesome. Thank you for your thoughts. Policies, IT strategy, business solutions. Those are some of the key points I picked out of that. Thank you very, very much. But ideally, this is what you would face as consultant. I mean, Lisa is a whole lot. Lisa is sitting on, has probably gone through all this, but as a consultant or as somebody who wants to transition into this space, this is a likely scenario. And I don't think there's any company that will employ you because they just like your face. People will employ you to come and solve problems. It might not be this complicated, it might not be this complex, but surely there is a problem to solve. And whatever approach you adopt will relate to how you actually solve other problems when you join a new place. But you see, this is a typical case of what many companies go through. I'm not joking, right? Some some companies you join, they have manual processes are still there, operations are still inefficient. Some companies you join, they have a lot of information but poor insights. Like they can't make very good decisions because they can't make sense out of the data they have. There's some companies you join, customers have issues, customers are complaining. There's some companies you join, you know, there is frustration and morale. Well, so really these are real life issues, real life moments. But let's see, really, we are not going to be, I'm not going to provide you the solution to this problem now. It's supposed to be something we will think about. So just think about it. And I mean, and thanks for Joseph, and thanks for Shalal, and thanks for all those who have dropped something in the chat. It means you're thinking about it, but it's complicated, it's complex. But let's see really how SAP, for example, because that's what we're learning, does SAP have the capacity to handle all these problems? If they have capacity, how would they go about it? Really, how do you go about it? Let's say you're because sometimes organizations have even more robust systems. There are companies that have failed even when they have SAP as a robust system. They have installed the best technology, but they're still having this kind of problems. Really, there are some companies who have SAP running, but they still have this kind of problem because that's why people are paid and that's why people are there. Now, let's look at the journey to discovering SAP. Let's hope that they have employed you and you have a lot of access. I mean, you're an SAP person, you have learned about SAP or you know it, or you have, you have some experience, you have had certification and all that. Let's look at it from this angle. Let's look at widget discovering SAP. Hopefully, one of the board of directors have heard something about SAP and what did they hear? Now let's look at a success story. So maybe one of the board was going through one day he was just browsing and looking for solutions to this problem, or you were looking for solution and you stumble upon a success story from a company like Coca-Cola. Coca-Cola is huge. Probably one of the I think it's the most valuable company in the world, or maybe I'm mistaken, but it should not be maybe the top 5 or top 10, but it's a company that has existed for decades and that has gone through decades of transformation. They have been there, they have seen every technology, they have seen every every technology that has ever existed in human for a business that has ever existed there. I think they have seen it and they have been transforming over the years. That's why they are still very sustainable as a business, and they are probably one of the most valuable companies in the world. Now let's look at the 5-step success story when Coca-Cola did their ERP implementation. I hope you can hear. If you can hear,
Hi there,
please let me
finance
know.
professional. In our last video about everything ERP series, we spoke about the 3 game-changing ERP customization factors to keep in mind before selecting the right ERP for your organization. In this video, we will talk about what successful ERP implementation actually looks like with the help of the world's most renowned beverage brand, Coca-Cola. Coca-Cola wanted to streamline their processes and integrate diverse operational systems. The main aim behind transitioning to a new ERP system was to enhance operational efficiency, streamline processes, facilitate future expansion. So, which ERP did they implement? Coca-Cola made the strategic decision to implement SAP R/3, SAP BW, and SAP SCM. What was the impact of this implementation? Centralized digital systems. By selecting SAP as their ERP solution, Coca-Cola could effectively operate as a unified entity and seamlessly integrate and standardize their operations. Improved transparency and control. Implementing an ERP system enhanced transparency and control by providing real-time visibility into business processes and enabling overall optimization of resources and data. Expansion and future growth. Coca-Cola, with the implementation, could expand to 5 new countries, adding approximately 1,200 users with effective management. Efficient cost and time management. Coca-Cola's successful ERP implementation led to cost saving and time efficiencies by centralizing systems, optimizing processes, and reducing inventory levels, manufacturing space, and production costs. Improved operational efficiency. Process automation and job chain mapping reduced daily batch workload from 300 to 180, saving time and improving system performance. Stay tuned for our next video in the series to know a trick to ensure successful ERP implementation. Do you want to craft your own ERP success story? That's what we are here for.
Thank you very much.
At Contetra,
Thank you. I hope you listened to that because my screen was full. Did you hear that? Was the Please, did you hear the video? If you can confirm.
Yes, we did.
Awesome. Thank you very much. Because sometimes so you can see the story of Coca-Cola, and one thing you will realize is, of course, one of the systems they implemented, just like Lisa said, was SAP Arrow 3, which is which is really one of the old versions of SAP. But as we move on, we're going to see how SAP has evolved. But this gives you an idea of what digital transformation is and how SAP helped Coca-Cola transformed, and some of the gains that were made, and some of the key issues that SAP helped them, some of the problems that SAP helped them solve. So I mean, so one of the directors have watched this video. He wasn't satisfied. I think the next thing he stumbled on something else, and let's see if that can also help him make a decision. So he looked at another success story from a company called Signum, and let's also hear what what the director had.
A few problems, actually.
We're overproducing,
Overcrowding,
and overheating. We've got aging roadways,
aging power grids,
aging everything.
Kind of bumming me out, Clive-Owen.
No, wait, gets worse. We also have the age-old problem of bias in the workplace.
Really? Never heard of it.
Seriously, it's all over the
I've
news.
heard of it.
The question is, who's going to fix all of this? An actor? Probably not. But you know who can solve it? Business.
That's right. The best-run businesses can make the world run better because solving big problems is what business does best.
And doing good is just good business. Sorry.
So let's grow more food with less water.
And make healthcare more healthy. It's okay, I'll play the doctor. What do we got here?
Let's take on the wage gap, the opportunity gap.
The achievement gap.
Together, we can tackle every elephant in the room and save the rhino while we're at it.
Because whatever the problem, business can help. And I know who can help them do it.
Thank you very much, guys. I hope that was also very interesting. So, I mean, the director has gone through these two videos. I mean, looking at Coca-Cola, like I said, it's one of the most valuable companies in the world, and they run on SAP. Interesting. And I mean, you can see how it helped improve processes. It helped them around managing orders. You know, there was a lot of transformational work that SAP went through when they implemented Arrow 2, Arrow 3, which is one of the old versions of SAP. And you can see here also how SAP actually can, you know, they pride themselves as the solution that solves the big problems, really. Now, after hearing all this, let's look at what we call the activate work stream. So if you are going to really sit in SAP, there is an end-to-end view of what this whole training will be all about. Like I said, it's not just about knowing activate and knowing the steps. No, that's far from what implementation, deployment, and delivery is all about. It's a whole lot more. So SAP has come up with what we call a structure First is discovering SAP S/4HANA. The next is the project management work. We have solution validation, we have workshops, we have design and configuration, we have testing, we have training, we have data management, we have integration, and we have operation and support. This is not activate. These are foundations that you need to put in place for you to actually successfully drive, for you to, number one, say you are somebody who understands SAP implementation. That's one. Number two, this will also give you an idea of the skills you need to be able to sit in the implementation space. Because a lot of people, implementation is not configuration. You can see configuration is just one small, tiny part. It's one small, tiny part of what we call activate. This is where configuration is. So even as a functional consultant or as a user, this is where you sit. So that's why the best people who drive projects are those who are not really those who can configure the system. Configuration is a tiny, it's a very important bit, but it's just one part of it. So when you can configure system, it's very good, but you might not be you're a successful project manager or even a BA within the SAP space, because you need a whole lot more. You need a whole lot more to be able to drive implementation, drive deployment, and drive end to end when we look at project implementation. So for those, I'm trying to emphasize that configuration is just one bit of the whole methodology or the whole structure or the whole foundation. Yes, and of course, if you look at the work stream, really, what does activate represent? I don't want to read all this, but the most important thing is when we move into the most important thing is it just shows you, I would say, knowledge areas. For me, once if you grasp these, if you understand where all these bolts fit into implementation, the drive is knowledge area. You need to understand a little bit of all this to sit very well as somebody who is going to be in projects, maybe as a BA or as a PM, as an architect, or any role that has to do with really not just configuration, but driving implementation. This is the key knowledge area you need to be sitting on. And that is the essence of this course. We'll have a time to do configuration, but for now, we're looking at the knowledge areas you need to deliver a project. And of course, the next thing we're going to be looking at is really discovering SAP S/4HANA. And I think that's the first part of this whole journey. Because if you're new to SAP, then this is where your journey starts. And it's going to be very interesting. But we've had SAP, we have had all it can do. We have seen the business case, although we have not addressed it yet. That will come towards the end. However, haven't had the success story of Coca-Cola and of course had how SAP can help, transform your business and solve most of your problems. Let's now know and look at what SAP is. Please note we're going to have a break very soon. We're supposed to have that now, but hopefully when we get to the question bit, we're going to have a break, a 5 minutes break for us to just take water and come back afterwards. Now, let's look at discovery, really. SAP S/4HANA driving digital transformation. Now, the question is, what is SAP? This question is not the definition of what SAP is. It's a little bit more than that. But a lot of us have been hearing SAP, and those who are new, and you have heard, you have seen, for the past few minutes, we have been talking about, we have not been talking about SAP, we have just been talking about, businesses and problems and how SAP has helped solve, problems and all that. The question is, what is SAP? And I would like you to share your thoughts. Now you have seen what SAP can do, what do you think SAP is to a layman or to a business person? Or if you're asked to, so let's say you want to solve this problem, you have recommended SAP to the director, and the director asks you, or the CEO asks you one question: what is SAP? How would you explain it to that CEO who is not really a system person? So the question goes back, what is SAP? Please share your thoughts, guys. What do you think? You can explain it from what it can do or what it does and all that, but from what you have seen and what you have heard, um, and if you know it's a technology and all that, what do you think SAP is? I think we have some users here. Some people have learned it. Some people know what it is. Some people have used it. So if you have, what do you think SAP is? Please unmute your mic and speak. I think Joseph have used it. Who has used it here? Okay, Afolabi says business process solution application. Thank you for always responding, Afolabi.
I think
Abraham,
SAP.
Okay, go ahead.
I think SAP as I mean the shortest, simplest things are always very hard to define. Yeah, so I say SAP is an ERP. ERP is enterprise resource planning, and I think from that standpoint, I think when you explain it from planning, enterprise resource planning point of view, it's very easy to define. So I can
Okay.
say planning, like resource planning. I just put as a resource planning software, which would optimize business processes in an organization. It's just something simple.
Thank you very, very much, everybody. Linda says technology used to manage value chain, improve efficiency, and cut costs. Awesome. Thank you, Linda, for that. Shakira said is an enterprise ERP, enterprise resource planning. Awesome. And I think your learning of SAP starts with understanding what it is, really. I think that's the basics, because you appreciate it more when you understand how just simplify it as much as possible. I think that is the key for me to understanding SAP. It's not that difficult, but it's simple, but you have to break it down. You have to break it down to understand it. So we're going to go for a break, and when we come back, I'm just going to break it down as much as possible so that we can basically understand what SAP is, because that's the beginning. Yeah, it's the beginning, but it's simple, but it's it's you have to just understand it from at the simple state, then you climb up. So we're going to go for a 5 minutes break. Well, at exactly 5 minutes, this is 2:10 from my time. So by 2:15, we should be back. Then we are going to start with dissecting what SAP is, so that when you leave here and you talk about it, you can explain it as simple as possible. So that even the person who doesn't know what it is can understand. So it's not about the massive definition, it's just to break it down into very nice concept. And I think Joseph have tried to do that. He broke it down into three very important words: ERP. So when we come back, we're going to look at what that is and then move from there to understanding where we. Thank you, Lisa. Thank you very much. I appreciate you joining us. All right, guys, let's go. We'll be back in 5 minutes. Thank you.
You do a little bit today, you do a little bit more tomorrow, you do a little bit more the day after, and keep doing a little bit more. And before you know